Hey guys, I think we're going live. I'm going to go ahead and put us on record and just assume that we are. CamiBaker.com here. Super excited to have a longtime friend of mine, Trish Blaine, on with us. Trish and I met at one of her gatherings, oh gosh, about 8 years ago. She was having a meetup down, I believe, in Somerville at her house. It's been so long ago. I remember the house. I don't remember the address, but I remember where I met her. And over the years, we have stayed in touch. And so now that I have fabulous spirits and on fire Fridays with Friends featuring, of course, I want to have Trish Blaine on because we got together about 2 weeks ago. We got together after years and years of not seeing each other. And when we sat down in a Panera's, we sat there for 4 hours and never even got up to go to the bathroom. The conversation just flowed, and she's got such great energy. We had so much in common that it was clear that she needed to be on my Fabulous Spirits and on Fire. And she's got a retreat coming up in the Berkshires that I'm going to be going to. So we're going to talk with Trish today about her 4 forces, which is really fascinating. That was a good hour of our conversation, if not more. We're going to talk about her retreat, and we're going to talk about how our synergies play together in this big world. So Trish, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and how it's a bit of your re-emerging coming out party.
I just want to say this is actually my Facebook Live debut. So this is pretty exciting. It's the first time I'm going live video. So I'm just really honored to be on with here. You know, over the years, I've watched you on Facebook and enjoyed everything you've been putting out there. And when we finally got a chance to connect, it was just amazing to kind of dive in with you. So yeah, so the 4 forces, I'm in the process of finishing a book, and I kind of took a hiatus for the last year. I've been teaching for a while and working with it for over 30 years. And finally decided I really needed to sort of put it into a book and summarize everything. And I'm now starting to put it out there. I'm hoping to have the book out later this spring, at least the review copy. And, years ago, I used to own an environmental store. I've always had this passion for wanting to sort of create a better world and help people and live the best life that I could and the fullest life I could. And one of the things that I kept finding was that everybody sort of had their version and their view of what a better world should look like. You know, if you ask 100 different people, you get 100 different answers around what that looks like. But I started this journey of like, well, how do we actually come up with a version of it that we all can say yes to? And what I found along the way was that there were really 4 common denominators that everybody wants, these sort of core desires. And then as I worked with those more, I realized, wow, this is actually the basis of sort of getting everything you want in your life is about these 4 things. And it was an amazing journey of not just these 4 sort of desires, but realizing that these are skills and that this is a whole new sort of paradigm or new approach to how you move in the world and how you get what you want. And as the years have progressed, you know, we're at really, I think, a really pretty critical time in the world right now of really needing to find a new way of navigating together. And how can we still have very vital lives that are all in, that give us everything that we want, and at the same time, you know, really working together. So the analogy that I've come up with that seems to work the best to describe the shift that I feel like we're needing to make is sort of, we've been taught that life is like an orchestra, that there's sort of a conductor and players, and everybody's trying to get their song played or figure out how to be the conductor, how to get what you want, how to get other people to play your song. And what I see is really life is much more like a jazz improv model or analogy, where you come together with a common intention, but everybody has their unique instrument and their gift and their contribution. And while there's not a specific song trying to be played, but rather it's like, how can we all work together to create a song that's even greater than we could have imagined? But that jazz improv analogy, that takes different skills than the orchestra model and paradigm way of life. So that's sort of an overview.
I love how you talk about the paradigm shift. And one of the reasons that we have synergy is because you talk about helping people to be their best self, and the shift of vibration on the planet. A couple of the things that I do have to do with cause marketing, helping people who have a cause and a passion and a purpose, and partnering and pairing that with their profession and their profit, so that it's a win-win-win for everybody. You're helping the cause, you're helping them fundraise, you're helping the awareness, you're helping them get board members, whatever that is for you. But at the same time, you're not just stroking a check. That's philanthropy. You're not just dipping out soup at the soup kitchen. That's awesome, and that's called volunteering. But the way that I strategize it is that while you're doing all that, let's use it as a way to market your business too, so that it's a win-win-win all the way around, because the best way to help poor people is to not be one. So there's the cause marketing aspect, and I want to get back and hear exactly how the four forces play into this. And when you talk about the jazz analogy and the players in the orchestra, one of the other things that I help people do is be seen, be heard, be the authority. So I like to actually help people step up in front of the stage and be the event. And so it's really interesting how our paths have come back together, because here you are with dozens, maybe correct me on how many meetups that you have, but collectively 50,000 members in all of your meetups in more than one state, all over the place. And with all that being said, you've taken a hiatus for a year. And so, in this moment right now, I can't believe it's actually your first Facebook Live, because about a year and a half ago when these started, I was like, yeah, free publicity, woohoo, but here you are with us, and you are going to be teaching us how to play the instruments together, how to be able to improvise and play beautiful music as a team, as a group, as a collective consciousness, if you will. And for me, wanting to help people be seen, be heard, and be the authority, I'm helping to put you right out front so that you can help to orchestrate us to learn how to do that. So let's let you, go ahead.
Well, one of the forces, I haven't named the forces yet, but one of the forces is expression. So that is the idea that everybody is unique and everybody has a contribution and a gift to offer. And not only are unique as in, when you really stop and think, what does it mean to be unique? Like everything that you've experienced in your life up to this point makes you Cami. So everything that every perspective, every moment, like you and I are having a joint conversation here, we're in it together, but yet you're sitting in a very different place than I am. Your perspective, the way you're reacting or hearing what the conversation is very different. So everybody has this unique perspective that's unlike anybody else on the planet. And when you really sink into that, when you sink into yourself, then like, wow, your gift to offer, like nobody else can offer that. And so I love that, you're saying, yeah, put yourself out there, play your instrument, be your best self, and don't be afraid to shine. And with that, though, what I find is in our world, we've expression often means that we have to compromise about connection, one of the other forces, or purpose, which is the third. And then growth, this idea of making money or life force, or the idea of evolution and progress. So when you put all four together, and then what's brilliant about it is you can be center stage, you can be shining and radiating who you are and offering your world and making money and doing it in a way that is contributing to the greater good and the whole. Like you don't have to choose one or the other. And that's what I think is so powerful.
Well, and one of the books I read years ago, T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, he says that there's a difference between poor people and rich people, and don't make that mean anything. Anybody who's watching, poor and rich can mean in spirit, in wealth, in family, in religion, whatever that means to you. But he said, poor people think in terms of either or. Well, if I had my choice of being rich or being good, I'd just be good. He says, rich people think all inclusive. Because I can be rich and good, imagine all the good that I can do when I have enough resources and relationships to create even more in the world. So I love how you're saying we can have all of those things and have a balance of them. It's not one or the other, it's all of them, and how do they apply to your life? Tell us more about the four forces.
Yeah, just one more point on what you were saying too is I think people, I know myself, and I hear this a lot from people, is the idea too that once I make my money, or once I have my business established, then I can do all these great things in the world. And it's like when you really start to hold these things at the same time, that they're not either or choices, then actually what I found is new possibilities break open that weren't there before. So
well, that's part of what I talk about with cause marketing. I'm glad you bring that up, because it doesn't have to be either or. And what you just said, people live in a place sometimes of, well, when I have the money, when I have the time, when I have the resources, then I'm going to give back. Or they give back so much now that their business suffers because they're expending all of their resources and relationships to volunteer and to do these things, but then their business is suffering. So with cause marketing, I help them to see, listen, you can benefit the cause and market your business at the same time. It's all inclusive. So why would we separate them when we can use them all together?
Right. And, it actually is a skill to be able to combine what often we hold as opposites. So that's what I call a shift skill. It's something that once you master, so in the four forces framework, you can use it to get what you want. And it's also a framework for looking at the skills of how do we work together with another person, with a group, and applying it to different areas in your life. So I have another music analogy. It's funny how I'm not a musician. I played Gone with the Wind in 8th grade in a talent show on my guitar, and that's about the extent of my music talent. But there's all these music analogies that I found really helpful. Like in order to play jazz or any music, first you have to learn like the foundations of music. And then, so that's like, how do I play my instrument? What is my instrument? How do I read music and all of that? And in the case of the four forces, it's what is connection? The common aspect of connection is everybody wants to love and be loved. But what does that actually mean? And what is it to actually do that? And what are the skills of that? The second force is expression. The idea that everybody wants to be unique and seen and heard and have a chance, feel like you're separate from the connection and belonging aspect. So as much as we want to belong and be part of, we also want to be unique and separate and different. The third force is purpose, and the idea of that often, that's the idea of contributing and to feel like life has meaning. But it's also kind of about order and rules and greater good, and how do we actually take something and put it into form and create meaning in lots of different ways. And then finally, the original growth that I saw was, everybody wants tomorrow to be better than today, this idea of progress. But as I worked with it more, I really realized that it's about life force, money and manifesting and life force, as well as emergence. Growth is something new coming into form. So when you put all four of those together, first you have to sort of untangle them. So when I talk about the music analogy, that's the foundational skills. What is connection? What is expression? What does it mean to do these things? But then sort of once you've learned how to maybe read music and play the piano with each hand, now you have to learn how to play the piano with both hands, and you have to figure out how to start to have musicality. So I call those shift skills. So some of those shift skills are things like working with opposites. How can I be both myself in expression and also part of and broken open and belonging and in connection with others? Or how can I do my mission and shine as an individual and be part of the greater good? So, and make money, all of those things. So those are shift skills that how to work with power, how to work with process and emotional triggers, like how do you manage your emotional and use your emotions to navigate? So I call those shift skills. And then once you've sort of mastered your own instrument and you have some sense of musicality, now it's like, oh, now I'm with Cami. How do you and I actually play together? Or now we add 4 people or 5 people. How do we work as a group? And so those are a whole nother set or layer of skills of learning how to play and putting that all together. So I call those mastery skills. And then finally, I call another part of the framework pathways. These are what my Meetup groups are based on. I've been doing all these pathways workshops and classes and stuff. And it's pathways I think of for the music analogy is like, now that you know how to play, but now there's bluegrass music and there's rock, right? Those are still music, but they've got different applications and different flavors. So pathways are the aspect of our lives. So for example, one of my meetup groups called Eros, Exploring Love, Sex, and Soul. So how do you then apply those skills into relationships, romantic and love relationships specifically, or how do you apply them to business? Another one of my meetup group, one of my pathways is called Allies, and it's all about entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur since 1989. So basically my whole adult life since I was in my very early 20s has been being an entrepreneur. And I use the four forces all the time in marketing. So those sort of, the first book the book that I'm doing is really sort of untangling first and understanding what are the four forces and how to use them. But as you put them together and as you learn these other skills, and it gets really exciting. Like as much as there's a lot of ways of looking around the world and going, oh man, what's going on right now? I'm really hopeful. I really feel like we have this chance to create not just a better world, but an amazing world.
Well, I think on that note, you're absolutely right. There are some of us who were on the leading edge. I don't remember if you and I talked about Homo Illuminus when we got together. Yeah.
I love that. I hadn't heard that before, actually. I love that.
So for those of us who are stepping into Homo Illuminus, to welcome in those that are being born into it, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. Right. There is this shift of energy change on the planet that is opening up consciousness to what you're talking about. And I'm super excited to learn more about different ways of learning these skills. I've been told that the difference between talent and skill is talent is something you're born with. So for your analogy of music, there are some people that are born proteges, 2 years old, they're playing an instrument, they're writing symphonies at 5 years old or whatever craziness that is. And that's a born talent. But then when you take someone with a talent and actually give them a coach or a mentor or a skill set and teach them, okay, hold on, you got this great talent. Let's add some skills to that. Or for those who aren't born with the talent, but want to learn the skills, it's just like in networking when I teach people how to build relationships and master referrals. Not everybody's born gregarious and outgoing and ready to communicate and conversate, but there's skills that can be learned. So this is a great segue into talking about the retreat that you have coming up, because you'll be teaching skills there, to your point about relationship and love and all of that. And I also want to hear about what you've got coming up for business people as well. But talk about that retreat that's going on in March.
Yeah, it's an approach. When I saw the name of your Fierce Fabulous Fridays, I'm forgetting the exact phrase, but the retreat name is actually Fierce Love. So it felt like it was like the perfect sort of match and segue there. And the title of it is Fierce Love, creating outrageous connection in your life and in the world. So there's two major parts of the retreat. One is skill building and looking at and really a deep dive into what is love, what is connection, and how do we create it in our lives, and what are the beliefs that we have about it that may be limiting or based on past experiences that really aren't true anymore for us. So a chance to really dive in. And what I've also found is nobody teaches us how to do connection. Nobody teaches us, right? Like you're teaching how to network, which is amazing, that web. And you can learn these new advanced skills, but even the basic skills of what does it mean to connect with somebody? How do I do that? We're not taught it. But so what we end up doing is we end up by trial and error, we do a whole bunch of stuff. And along the way, we end up sort of having some trauma that happens too. We end up having these sort of experiences that we don't want to have ever happen again, or that have an impact in us that sort of shut parts of us down. And we can actually even store those in our body. It might sound weird, but there are actually all sorts of science studies coming out showing how trauma early in the life, and it doesn't even have to be big trauma that you would, that to name. It's these moments and as we're growing up or even in adulthood where we just register it in our body as something that was something that sort of caused us to have a big reaction, and we sort of get it locked in our system. Mm-hmm. So the retreat's going to also be a chance that for those people that want to really go in and do some personal work. It's called process work. And it's where I never know what's going to happen. It's sort of, we follow whatever is happening for the individual, but it's a chance to really go in and do a piece of personal work. clear out some of that past experience and then reset the system so that now there's a new capacity, a new circuit breaker. I talk about these circuit breakers sometimes,
I want our viewers to know that I have already signed up for said event.
I'm so excited to have you come. I am so excited.
And when I go to any kind of event, I play full out. I want to get on the field and like, I want my money's worth. I want to clear that stuff out. And, so when I go, whether it's, drum chanting, spirit guide, past life retrievals, like whatever, like I'm all about all of it. So I'm excited to figure out what it is that we're going to be doing when we get there too. Cause look, there's so many different ways to experience life and to grow into the person that you're meant to be. And when I heard about this event, I just couldn't wait. I've already made my deposit to hold my spot. I'm excited to see the retreat house that it's going to be at, because I hear it's booked up years in advance. You yourself got married at this retreat house, so it's a pretty special place.
We did. Yeah, Angel's Rest Retreat Center. I don't know if she's booked for years, but she's booked through this year. So I got the last dates for this year when I contacted her. But always reach out, because you never know. I don't want her to feel like, oh, nobody calls now because there's no dates. But yeah, it's a great location, and actually all out. That's all in, living life all in is one of the sort of taglines for the 4 forces. So there's a lot of opportunity for that, and I'm really excited to see what emerges. One of the things people talk a lot about, well, is it safe? And so you talk about, hey, I'm all in and I'm gonna like go for it, right? And that, I love that, and that intensity. And for other people, there's an element of like, whoa, too much, sort of that circuit breaker again of lots of life force. And, safety, a lot of people talk about, well, is it a safe space? And to me, safety is sort of an illusion in the sense that you can't control everything around you. But what I like to create is a space where everybody feels empowered to know that, like, oh, I'm okay and I can respond and I'm at choice and I can experiment and there's sort of a safety net. There is a net there, or I'm being caught, so to speak, versus sort of, am I safe and is everything controllable around me? It's a little bit of a different kind of a stance for the retreats. But a lot of fun. We'll be doing a lot of sort of experiential exercises as well. I love to dance, so it's optional. You can just tap your foot, but I like to start the segments with dancing, just to get the energy moving. And I'm sort of old school. I like Motown and it's really kind of corny songs that some people are like, really, but then you hear them and you just want to dance.
Well, people are going to be watching this recording for months and years to come, so we want them.
Oh, the pressure.
So we want them to know that this retreat, whether it evolves into something bigger and better or stays very intimate and small, is something that they can contact you about for future events and any business events where you are teaching the 4 forces. We had a lot more time to get very intimate about what they're all about and draw it out on a piece of paper. Here's what it looks like. So share with our viewers a little bit about where they can find you and what else might be coming up for Trish Blaine with all of your meetups and all of the people that follow you and all the people that are waiting with bated breath to see what is next for you.
Right. Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, the book, like I said, the book is a big deal for me. I've been struggling with this for a couple years now, and that's happening. So that's very exciting. There is actually this connection retreat is only limited to 20 people, and it's a deep dive. And I still have a few spaces available left for the retreat. But I'm actually wanting to also do what I'm sort of calling right now the connection experiment weekend. And that I want to have the experiment be, how connected can a group of strangers get in one weekend, where we also do the skill building, but have a kind of a different experience than sort of the deep dive that a retreat has. And so I'm hoping to have those in April and May in the area. I'm looking at Boston and probably also New York around the same time in that time frame. And then actually going to experiment with doing an experiment for each of the forces. So the expression experiment, there's lots of different events that we're putting together, and there's going to be some online, an online course that corresponds with the book that'll be coming to the website. So if you go to fourforces.com, the4forces.com, spelled out, and registered, you can just sign in, join for the mailing list. We can make sure that we keep you posted about that. We'll be doing some Meetup group events. I'm looking for people that want to host. I've actually got I've got 50 or 60 events that I've done in several different places that I'm sort of wanting to sort of be these little event in a box, where I'm looking for people that want to host different events in different areas. So that's also something that somebody could, if you're interested, sign up on the newsletter, and we'll be sending out that information soon. So I had said that I wasn't going to be doing any interviews until March, when I knew the book was done. And then you asked me, and I'm like, I've got this retreat coming up. And so I thought, I'm just going to start putting it out there, but there's a lot in the works. So.
Well, it's my honor to help you step out, step up, step in, and be seen, be heard, be the authority, and be the event. And I seem to recall when we were talking about your experiments, we said experience the experiment.
Right. I love all your alliterations. You're so awesome. Experiment. I'm kind of playing with the connection experience, the connection experiment, or experience the experiment. I love that too. But
I came up with one today. Internet and interaction, how they intersect, or something. I don't know. I come up with them all the time.
Whenever I need one, I'm going to come to you. Those are so awesome.
So you're looking for people to host some of your meetups. Another project and program that I was putting together a few months ago was makemoneyWithMeetup.com. So there's just no telling. Yeah, there's just no telling what we will be collaborating about. And when we have some time in that intimate setting with the 20 people or less there at the retreat in March, it's March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, yes?
Yes, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And yeah, I still have some spaces open. I just started advertising it actually a week or two ago, a couple weeks ago, I guess now. So it's fairly new. I have a bunch of people that I've been working with for years, and they've been really wanting a retreat. So I just decided to let's put one out while I'm finishing up the book. But there is, I'm going to start doing stuff even with the book not fully done yet. And you're such an inspiration too. You've got your book out, and I love how you put yourself out there. So I'm looking to mingle to millions. Awesome. I'm so impressed, and I just love how fearless you are in putting yourself out there in the world. And for me, it's been I love to talk and meet people, and I don't have any fear about connecting. And there's something about sort of social media that's definitely been for me a little bit of an edge. So I so appreciate your encouragement.
Well, for me, it's important for me to live in the integrity of doing that which I coach other people to do. So whether I'm teaching cause marketing, how to partner your passion with your profit and do them together, whether I'm teaching someone how to be seen, be heard, be the event, whether I'm working with companies and businesses on how to get more foot traffic through the door and more eyes on their business and raise the vibration of people noticing that they're there. I'm working with brick and mortar businesses now. I'm working with a country club to help them get more events coming into their venue, et cetera, et cetera. So with all that being said, I feel like it's really important that I am living in the moment, exactly that which I coach on. I was speaking with the gentleman yesterday about his memes and how he's promoting different ways of getting on the stage. And he's got this great material, but he's very analytical, and he's been focused on looking at it one way, and I'm helping to shift his mindset to focus on it a different way. And I said, Jeff, the great thing about it is that everything that I'm helping you to reframe and reposition in your mind as to how people are seeing you, I'm doing it myself right now. So one of the things that apparently I've got a natural talent for is being able to reposition myself from being seen in one way to another. And one of the ways that I do that, and I'd love to hear a little bit more of your input on this, is when I want to be repositioned, I simply state, this is who I am, and then I step into that. Because as we were talking about earlier, people are waiting to have more time, or waiting to have more money, or when I have this, then I'll do that. And it's the whole paradigm shift from when I have something, then I'll do that, then I'll be happy, then I'll be healthy, then I'll be a philanthropist. I help people to shift that around. No, when you be that, then you'll naturally do what that person would do to have what they would have. So when I've transitioned from different businesses and different personas over the year, I simply step into being. Like with your book and being an author, we don't wait till the book is actually printed. This book didn't come out until 12 months ago, but I've spoken on hundreds of stages before that. When I was in that place as you for 2 years, kind of struggling and sweating about it, not really sure what I was going to name the book, I would just come up with the name. At one point, I was going to call it Girl, I Love Those Shoes, because that's a great way to open a conversation with a woman. So I would just tell people I'm the author of the forthcoming book, Girl, I Love Those Shoes. But the great thing about that is I was doing market research, because I found out that people didn't understand that. They thought it was a book about shoes or a book about women, or it was only for women. So I was doing a little bit of market research, but I was also stepping into, I am the author of the forthcoming book, whatever. So that I was claiming being an author, and I was claiming owning that space. And so now, whenever I'm on Facebook Live, whenever I'm working with a client, it's about owning who you are. I was at an event last week where people were going around doing their 30-second elevator pitch, and 60% of the room, well, I was in corporate for 20 something years. And, now what I want to do is I want to be an IT consultant, and a couple of them I pulled to the side at the end and I said, are you open to some coaching? Which I don't always ask that. I usually just step right into coaching, but I have to learn to ask permission. Right. And said, yeah. And I said, you need to own your space. Who I am is an IT consultant, period. Not with the backstory and the apologizing, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm so happy to help you step into, hey, my book's coming out, and I'm not waiting for that. I'm doing this now.
Well, there's a bunch of points there. For me, a lot of the putting the book together was a process of really refining and getting to the point of like, what is it that I want to create? Not just, there's lots of different ways I can put this information out into the world, and what is it that wants to move from me. So there's really I think there's a lot of value in what you're saying and putting yourself there out as this is what I am and this is how I'm living it. I have a slightly different way that I do it and work with others, which is when you really drop into yourself and you really feel your uniqueness and move from there. What's the experiment? What is it that you want to create? So what I felt like I had gotten kind of lost in I need to do this, I need to get this out there. And I needed to stop and say, wait a minute, what is it that is really, what is my sort of deep in my soul, deep in my bones, what am I wanting? And then from there, what wants to happen? And when I do that, one of the things that I really recommend, there's an intention. So I set an intention of, I'm ready, I want to do this book, I'm doing this book. But then there was also an element of, what do I need to be able to make that happen? What is it, or not even make it happen? It's this stance where it's like, it is happening. And now it's just a matter of kind of being curious about how it's going to happen. I ended up finding this amazing book coach after months of trying to find somebody to help me. And now it's just flowing and it's easy. So I look at it as you have to move, you have to put stuff out there and experiment, like it's a both and of being it and naming it and saying, yes, this is moving from me. This is what I want to create in the world. This is my experiment. This makes me happy. This gives me pleasure. This is me manifesting and bringing my gifts to the world. But then from there, it's like, and it's an experiment. I wonder what's going to happen. How is this going to happen? And then you're open to all sorts of possibilities. So one of the things that can really happen is having a plan. It's great. It's sort of a both and again of holding both of how do you have a plan and a structure, or I'm claiming this, but also be open to something even new and amazing coming forward that you hadn't even thought of yet. So,
I love how you put that it's an experiment. And, you know, as to use some of your words that you shared with me the other day, we have the same goal. We have different strategies.
Right.
but not really. It's still the same thing, because when I put myself out there, or when I encourage others to put themselves out there, it's still an experiment. It's
Right.
still, look, put yourself out there. What's the worst that's going to happen, you know? And as you put yourself out there, that's how you create your material. That's how you step into who you are, who you want to be seen as. You know, my mentor back in the day used to say, Cami, you got to sell it and then create it. Sell it and then create it. If you spend too much time trying to create and put together PDFs and programs and outlines and all these things, you're not selling. And if you're not selling, you're not serving. Sell the program to somebody, and once it's sold, then you create it as you move forward. So it's all kind of sort of the same thing. The thing is, you just got to take action. And for a lot of people that are analytical or very esoteric, etc., to be pragmatic and actually start applying and just step into it and see what the experience is, and be in a place of awe and wonder. I wonder what's going to happen when I do this Facebook Live. You know, today I did my first Instagram Live. I just found out yesterday you could do live on Instagram. So I just pulled it out. I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm doing it, you know, and that's what you do. So Trish, tell us here at the very end, before we let you go, what are a couple of things that you would share with people to understand getting into the forces and to just step into who they were meant to be and be on purpose?
Oh, geez. Is there a particular area of, let me think. Well, I think what you were just naming now is really important around being able to really relax into yourself with a knowing that life has your back, and that life is that other people are there to support you. You know, one of the things that you just said was, you know, was resonating with me, and that part of why I ended up taking a hiatus was because I was acting all the time, but then I wasn't getting the results. Like, the feedback was not coming back in a way that was working. I was having a lot of anxiety. I was having a lot of like pressure and trying to make it happen. So being able to stop and say, wait a minute, let me do both of these. Let me drop into myself and take action and be able to feel life, know life's going to give me feedback, and be able to navigate that. And really taking the time to, the real basis of the four forces is that ultimately everything that we want. So for marketers out there, you've got a lot of entrepreneurs watching, and you're talking about sales too. Ultimately, we want four things, period. That's what I found. I mean, it's kind of a bold statement, but I found that everything, when you look at it, what underneath, one of these desires comes forward, one of these forces comes forward. And so when you can stop and think, well, why do I want that new car? Why do I want to be on stage? Why do I want to do that? And line up with the real desire. So it's not about giving up the desire. It's just, if you're doing something, for example, to be on stage because you want people to love you because you don't feel loved or lovable and you need recognition, you're not going to actually ever be able to get that way. Mm-hmm. So, but if you can step on stage because you know that you have this offering and it's fun and it's full of pleasure for you, then that response is going to be very different. So learning the why underneath what you're doing, and from a marketing point of view, understanding that ultimately that's what everybody wants. Also, you're able to then touch in more with the foundational desires and needs that we all have. And once we start actually, imagine a world where we're actually helping each other get connection, expression, purpose, and growth. Like, that's got some pretty awesome potential to it, to be able to do that together.
I love how you make it all warm and fuzzy and give it such a
what people say. What's all warm?
It's such a universal kind of way of looking at it. Well, my friend, let us bring this to a close so that we can share the recording with lots of people for many, many millennials to come. And I am so excited and blessed and honored to have had you with me on Fabulous Fearsome on Fire Fridays with Friends, featuring Trish Blaine. Trish, I will see you in March. And for those of you who want to find out more about the retreat, I'll put her contact information here in the wherever I put it. I don't know, however that works. And I will see you later. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
You're welcome.